My brother handed me the boarding pass like he was handing a bus ticket to a maid. Seat 42E. Middle seat, last row, 2 rows from the bathroom. Then he smiled at the airline agent and said, "She's fine back there. Evelyn doesn't need anything fancy. She works at the DMV." My mother laughed softly. My father looked away. My brother Preston Hale, CEO of Hale Grid Technologies, placed 5 first-class boarding passes on the counter for everyone else. Then he tapped my economy ticket. "Don't make a scene," he whispered. "There are investors on this flight." I looked at the boarding pass. 42E. Then I looked at my phone. A red notification blinked on the secure screen. Oahu grid breach, blackout cell active, priority 1. At that exact moment, my family thought I was a failed DMV clerk who could not afford a proper ticket. In reality, I was Colonel Evelyn Hale, U.S. Army Special Operations Command, and I was already directing a national security response while my brother tried to hide me near the airplane toilets. I slid my phone into my pocket. Then I pulled the red military ID from my wallet and placed it on the counter. The airline agent's face changed first, then the TSA supervisors, then the military police officers who appeared behind me like they had stepped out of the floor. The terminal went quiet. Preston frowned. "What is this?" A tall officer in dress uniform moved through the crowd and saluted. "Colonel Hale," he said, "General Mercer is waiting. Your aircraft is ready." My mother's mouth fell open. My father stared at me. Preston gave a nervous laugh. "Colonel?" I picked up the boarding pass he had bought me, tore it down the middle, and placed both pieces on the counter. "Money can buy you a lie-flat seat." "Preston," I said. "It cannot buy you clearance, and it cannot buy character." That was the moment my brother realized the woman he had humiliated for 20 years was the reason his plane could still take off. In the Hale family, success only counted if it was easy to explain at dinner. Preston was easy. Stanford, startup, investors, magazine covers. I was not. I left home at 18 and joined the Army. I deployed to places my family never asked about. I mailed checks home when my parents fell behind and wired money when Preston's first company failed. My mother cashed the checks. My father never read my letters. Preston used my money, then told people I was still finding myself. At Thanksgiving, he gave my parents a black Lexus. Everyone applauded. Then my father handed me expired grocery coupons. "For you," he said. "Your mother thought they might help." Preston laughed. "Well, every little bit helps when you're stamping forms at the DMV." I sat there with the coupons in my lap and felt myself fold smaller, not break. That had happened years earlier. This was the old shrinking of a person trained to be harmless so others could feel tall. I wanted to say I had spent that morning on a classified call about blackout, a cyber cell threatening Oahu's power grid. Instead, I gathered plates. National security has protocols. Family just has wounds. The next morning, we were flying to Los Angeles for Preston's investor retreat. He insisted I come because optics matter. At the airport, he made me carry 2 garment bags and his wife's suitcase. I carried them, not because I was weak, but because I knew the difference between a battle and a clown show. But pain does not care whether the insult is small. At check-in, Preston performed generosity. "First class for the family," he said. Then he leaned in. "Except her. Economy is fine." The agent looked uncomfortable. I said nothing. My mother touched my arm. "Don't look so serious. Evelyn, your brother paid for the ticket." That was my family's religion. Preston paid, so Preston ruled. My phone buzzed twice. I opened the secure app beneath the counter. Blackout had moved faster than expected. A false weather feed had entered air traffic systems near Honolulu. The trace pointed to a resort in Waikiki. I typed with one thumb. Lockdown Node 3, patch me to Pecom. Preston snapped his fingers. Evelyn, pay attention. I looked up slowly. He smiled for the people behind us. We are discussing seating. Try to follow along. Something in me went very still. For years, I had let him talk to me that way. Not because I believed him, but because part of me still wanted my family to wake up and love me correctly. That is the hardest grief. Mourning people who are still alive. Preston handed me the pass. 42's E. The insult was so petty it almost became perfect. He had not just excluded me from first class. He had planned the humiliation. Last row, middle seat, near the bathroom, far from the investors. Walk a little behind us, Preston said as we moved towards security. I have board members coming through LAX. I stopped. He took 2 more steps before realizing I was not following. What now? My father sighed. Evelyn, please, not today. Not today. That was what they always said when they meant not ever. I reached into my wallet. The red ID card felt heavier than metal and plastic should feel. It was not meant for ego. It was not meant for revenge. It was meant for moments when delay cost lives. This was one. I placed it on the counter and said to the airline agent, Initiate Priority 1 military movement. Verification code, Hale 7 actual. The agent stared at the card. Her training caught up before her voice did. Yes, ma'am. Preston laughed. Ma'am, she's a DMV clerk. The agent ignored him. ATSA supervisor arrived within 30 seconds, then airport police, then military police. Phones turned toward us. Preston's smile became nervous. Evelyn, what are you doing? I did not answer him. I was listening to the voice in my earpiece. Colonel, Blackout is attempting a secondary trigger. We need you wheels up in 7. Understood, I said. My mother grabbed my sleeve. Colonel. Her voice sounded small. It should have satisfied me. It did not. I had wanted that voice to sound proud for most of my life. When it finally cracked, I only felt tired. A military SUV pulled up outside. Behind it came Major General Thomas Mercer, known as Iron Mercer. He walked straight to me and saluted. Colonel Hale, America is proud of you. So am I. Now stand up straight. That is an order. I had not realized some old part of me was still standing in my parents' kitchen with expired coupons in my lap. I straightened. Yes, sir. Preston looked from the general to me. His face had lost all color. You're not a colonel, he said. General Mercer turned his head. Mr. Hale, your sister commands people who brief the people you beg to invest in your company. The words hit harder than shouting. My father whispered, Evelyn. I looked at him. For 20 years, I had sent letters from war zones. He left them unopened. For 20 years, I carried the family quietly while they called me useless. They mistook my silence for failure. No, I said softly. You do not get to sound surprised. You had every chance to know me. The crowd had gone completely quiet. Preston stepped closer, lowering his voice. Whatever this is, stop it. My board is here. I looked at him calmly. You can endure adversity, Preston, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. You were given money, connections, and praise. And you used it to make your own sister carry luggage behind you. A phone camera moved closer. Preston noticed. That was when fear entered his eyes. Not fear for me, fear of being seen. The airport doors opened, and the roar of engines rolled in from the runway. A black Gulfstream C-37B waited beyond the glass, military markings visible on the tail. My father stared at it. "Is that for you?" "No," I said. "It is for the mission." General Mercer stepped aside. "Colonel, we have to move." I placed the torn boarding pass in Preston's hand. "Enjoy first class," I said. Then I walked away. Every step felt impossible. Every step felt like breathing for the first time. Behind me, my mother cried. My father called my name. Preston muttered about misunderstanding and media. I did not turn around. On the aircraft, the command screens were already live. Oahu's grid map glowed red across the center monitor. NSA analysts filled 2 video windows. A Delta commander stood ready near Honolulu. When I sat down, the shame of the airport fell away. This was the part of my life that made sense. Clear problem, limited time, real stakes, no family theater. "Status," I said. "Blackout is routed through a hotel server in Waikiki." An analyst answered. "Air traffic feed compromised. 2 hospitals at risk." I looked at the Delta commander. "Move." 6 minutes later, they breached the hotel suite. 17 minutes later, Oahu's hospital systems were stabilized. By the time Preston's flight would have lifted off, the threat was contained. I felt relief. But beneath it was grief, because part of me was still standing at that ticket counter, waiting for my father to say he was proud. The video hit the internet before I landed. Someone had filmed everything: the economy ticket, the red ID, General Mercer's salute, the Gulfstream. By midnight, the clip had 20 million views. By morning, Preston Hale was no longer a brilliant founder. He was the executive who humiliated a decorated colonel. Hale grid stock dropped. His board called an emergency meeting. He called me 37 times. I answered once. "Evelyn," he said, voice shaking, "you have to make a statement. Tell them it was a family joke." I looked out over Honolulu, where the lights were still on because hundreds of people had done their jobs and one cyber cell had failed. "A joke? You know how people are online. They're destroying me." "No," I said. "They are meeting you." Silence. Then anger. "You owe me." There it was. The truth under all the silk. "I paid your debt when your first company failed," I said. "I paid Mom and Dad's mortgage. I sent money from war zones while you called me useless. I carried your bags while stopping an attack on Hawaii." His breathing changed. "You never told us." "I wrote letters." "That was different." "No," I said. "That was inconvenient." He went quiet. Then, smaller. "Can you forgive me?" I closed my eyes. Forgiveness? People ask for it when consequences arrive. "I may forgive you someday," I said, "but I will not lie for you." His voice broke. "I'll lose everything." "No, Preston, you are losing what was built on the belief that no one would ever see you clearly." After that, I blocked his number. My parents sent messages too. My mother wrote, "We didn't understand." My father wrote, "We are proud of you." I stared at that sentence for a long time. "We are proud of you." I had wanted those words at 18, at 25, and after a blast in Afghanistan left shrapnel in my shoulder. But pride that arrives only after public embarrassment is not love. It is damage control. I did not answer. A week later, General Mercer found me on the balcony outside the command center. "You all right, Colonel?" I almost gave the military answer. "Yes, sir." Instead, I told the truth. "No." He nodded. "Good. That means you understand the size of what happened. I stopped a cyber attack." "That was Thursday," he said. "I'm talking about the other war. The one where you stopped asking people to value you after they spent 20 years proving they wouldn't." Months passed. Preston lost the CEO seat. My parents moved into a smaller house. I stopped sending money. Not out of cruelty. Out of freedom. The first Christmas I spent alone. I expected grief to swallow the house. Instead, I cooked soup, fed the dogs, and watched snow gather on the porch rail. The silence did not feel like punishment. It felt clean. I built a new family slowly. Soldiers, analysts, neighbors, and a nurse from Oahu who wrote to thank us because her hospital never lost power. Years later, a young captain asked me how to survive being underestimated by people who should have protected you. I told her the truth. You stop auditioning for a role in a family that only knows how to cast you as small? What if they never see me? Then stop living in their direction. That is what I wish someone had told me sooner. Final justice was not Preston losing his company. It was not the internet calling him cruel. It was not my parents finally learning my rank from a viral video. Final justice was the moment I stopped confusing their blindness with my worth. My name is Colonel Evelyn Hale. My family thought I stamped forms at the DMV. But when Oahu went dark on the screen and America needed the lights to stay on, no one asked my brother for permission. They called me